didn't have. It was quite funny because I had talked about it, about getting a spider for ages, and Dad had mentioned, that the fish tank would be good for a spider. He would set it up and all for me, but I would get the spider myself, so that was fine. And I remember going, there was a reptile store near where I worked, so I went to have a nosy, and they had a spider, but I didn't have a cage set up for it. I didn't know what I would need for a cage, so I asked him. I says I was looking, maybe a tarantula, but I don't have a cage or anything I got for it. I would need to know. And he showed me the stuff and all I got there, and so I would have had to buy the stuff. That was fine. So I bought the stuff for the cage, and I says, can I buy the spider and then come back for it once I get the cage, set up? So he says, no, he says, we can set up the cage and all for you. He says, we'll get, well, the only thing I actually really did pay for was actually the cage itself. He gave me the water dish, the hiding place. He gave me plants for the cage. He gave me wood chippings. Basically, he gave me everything. The only thing I had to pay for was the cage and the spider. He gave me a box of food for free as well. And he literally just asked, was I in a rush? Could I get home easily enough? And I was like, yeah. I said I was getting a bus. I says, but if I need to come back, for a car or anything like that. And he goes, no, he says, just don't tell anybody there's a spider in the cage. But the bus people were actually lovely about it. The guy actually says you should tell everybody there's a snake in it and watch them all freak out. They didn't quite realise there was a spider in it. I didn't let that wee bit be known. But no, so I phoned Mum to explain to her that there was a spider coming home, just to, why did you take a picture of that? Just so that she was prepared, because I wasn't too sure how anybody was going to take it, whether there was going to be a row or anything like that, but she was fine. So that was it. Cage was set up, and then bringing spider home in the bus. Now this is the thing I laughed at. I was bringing home a tarantula. Now the tarantula wasn't big. I didn't get one of the big ones. I told him I had never handled a tarantula. I had never, I had never owned one before. Well, of course I never handled one, never owned one. But I had walked in. He had asked me which one had I wanted, and I said, well, I was either looking at Mexican red knee or I was looking at Chilean rose. And he just looks and he goes, yes. He says those two are the perfect starter spiders. You are on the right line for them. But they had no Mexican red knees, which I was really a wee bit disappointed about, because I really actually had wanted one of them. But he got me a Chilean rose, and he took it out of the cage, and the next thing I knew, the spider was on my arm. So he showed me ways of how to stop her. If I had her on my arm, stop her, what way to move my arm, stop her from crawling and stuff like that there. And yeah, so that was it. Showed that spider was in the box. They put her in the box with a bit of kitchen towel just to keep her safe, in a box of her own, so she was comfortable, so she was safe till I got her home, so I could put her in the big cage. And came home, and Mum had just arrived. She was in the car, and so I walked over in my box. I was all chuffed and all, I guess, and Mum's looking in the cage going, where is it? And I goes, no, it's in the box in the top of the cage, to keep it safe in case something happened. If I dropped the cage and stuff like that there, it would be in a box. And now I expected Mum to freak out. I expected her to scream, freak out, anything like that. Mum takes one look at it and goes, is that it? That's all the size? And I'm like, I kind of expected you to freak out, because her and Heather were the ones that were kind of a wee bit freaking out. And that was the response, was, that's it. That's, that's the size of it. That thing's tiny. And I was like, well, what did you think I was bringing home? The frickin' glass one? If anybody wants to know what size glass, I would say Crypt probably would be the best one to do it. If he put out his hand and stretched his hand out fully, extended his fingers, Glass would be, no, this is how people explain a Glass to me. Glass, if it stretches his legs and all out, can hook its feet around the size of a dinner plate. What am I in here for? Oh, I need molding. That's what it is. So that was it. Everybody was sort of excited about me bringing home the spider. Something that Heather may not actually say, my sister. Ask her. My first spider was called Charlotte. She actually named it. Wasn't me. She did. So, but it was a whole big fascination at the start. My dad wanted to take it out. I was away to my nanny's. Dad wanted to take it out. Mum refused because she was afraid of it escaping and then running loose around the house. So I got that one. Unfortunately, that one ended up dying on me. She was quite... At the start, I was getting spiders at like really, really old ages. And some of them had warned me that he says, you know, I had asked for quite old spiders. So unfortunately that one did die of old age. I got another one, which was a Mexican red leg, or a Mexican fire leg. It turned out to be a boy. He was too young at the time. They couldn't really tell if it was going to be a male or female. But I was happy enough. I quite liked them. He says the only thing with males, you could be a lot more allergic to them. Yes, which was true, because every time he kicked hairs at me, he was the worst hair kicker I have ever had. I was itching when the hairs get under your skin. They're the worst things. They're not too bad, you get used to them, but sometimes they can just itch like crazy. So I got it, and I got a pink toe, and unfortunately it had a bad molt. So I took it to the pet store, the one I had always been going to, and I brought them the spider, and I brought them the molt, and I had said what I had given the spider and all for her molt and stuff like that, and basically they just turned and said I could give the spider a life of luxury, but he says I had removed everything from the spider. You know, I had removed all food, I had given her water, I had given her a separate like a water bed, with just wet kitchen roll to help her with the molt so her skin wasn't really dry. And you know, they said they've had spiders before that have, you know, molted about 20 times, you know, 5-6 times, and he says one bad molt, you get one bad molt, and he says you cannot control it, your spider can just die. I put it into isolation, I had done all that there. I got a good bit. She started drinking on me again, and then I could tell she just hadn't molted fully. There was bits still on the spider, and she passed away, so that was a wee bit upsetting. My next one I got was the baby of the male one I had. I breeded him and I got a baby, and she's the same. I've had her. She was a bad molt. She was Millie. Then I actually got before her I got another Mexican red I got a Chilean rose, but I got the red version. So I got the red version of the Chilean rose. She is unfrickin' destructible. She's kind of the one that doesn't want to come out of her cage. I've given her a home to the point, I went back to the people and I said what way she reacts in the cage. Kind of when I was going for pet food and stuff like that, they would ask me, you know, how was it going and all, I guess, here, because I was still pretty new, and I explained that she stays behind her log quite often, and they said they found the same thing for her, that when they had her, to be in mind, nobody would buy her because she had a mark on her back, which was the sign of a bad molt. He says, or a mistreatment of spider. I was a little bit confused. So when I got her, she already was somebody's pet. They do think she was mistreated from the mark on her back. So I got her. So they did warn me she could be quite defensive because she had been mistreated. This point in time, she's molted for me once. She molted the day I got twins. I got Ruby and Roxy, my Mexican red niece. She molted the day I brought them home. She has never molted. I have had her now for, this is what, 2015? I got her 2010? So she's a good now 5 years. No, did I get her at the end of 2009? 2010. No, I got her in 2010. 11, 12, 13, 14. She would be now a good 5 years, that one. She's still going. Roxy unfortunately passed away, which I'm really gutted about because she was a Mexican red meat. But I had tried everything with her. I had put her into isolation. I had given her the water kitchen roll again to help her. I had given her extra water dishes to keep herself dehydrated, or hydrated, not dehydrated. Yeah, to keep her hydrated, to keep her fluids in her. And I had bought those two now from a different guy, and I had said to him, and he says the same thing. He was like, you could. I had given them. I says I had moved her. She was still in the cage. I'd given her the water bit and all of that, and he says it's the same thing. He says a molt is the worst experience a spider breeder can have. So I was pretty upset. I have been pretty upset now for them. They have been the ones I've really loved. Like, I love all my creatures, but Mexican redknees have been the ones I've been so fighting to get. I was so excited when I got them. I have now had them. Did I get them in 2013, 12, 14, 15, 13, 14? Might have been 2013. I got them. I think it was 2013. I got the red knees. So Ruby is still going. Ruby seems to be quite hardy. She's seemed to have no problem with molts. I keep an eye on her whenever she is molting, and if I see a sign of struggle, the first thing they get is their water dishes and all like that. They get everything sorted. I set them all up for stuff like that. I am so lost because I've been talking so much. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh yes, I know where I want to go. I need to go back the other way. Yes, so far I have Ruby. Ruby's still going, so I have the ones that sadly passed away. That was Charlotte, Millie, Raven, and Roxy. The ones that are living are Scarlet and Ruby. I have my two geckos, Joey and Chandler. If you watch a certain series, you know exactly where that came from. And so I have those two. Those two are, I would probably say, if anybody's a new person to geckos or lizards, if you go, you want a bearded dragon or stuff like that, I would say for a beginner, probably a gecko is probably a best thing, because those things are hardy creatures. I have had no problem with them. They have molted when they've shedded their skin. Like, I will say this, right? You know the big spiders you get in houses, like the normal size spiders? I cannot hold them. I cannot hold them because they're too fast. They make my hands really tickly. They can get into spaces. I've had one scoot up my arm so fast and sort of went down around my hair, and I had to get my mother to bat it out. But they've been so fast, I can't cope with them. Tarantulas are different because they are so big. That's actually, I would actually agree with that. From my two sizes, I can cope with them. I am happy enough with them because they are so big. When they're the wee ones, because they are so hard to see, and mine, I have to be very careful. I've never been bit. One of mine does threaten me quite a bit. I'm, cleaning out her water dish. I have to take out her water dish, or I'm cleaning, crickets that she's at, and I'm cleaning around her cage, keeping it clean, and she comes out and goes, "Excuse me, what do you think you're doing? Get your hands out of my cage." And I'm like, "But I need to give you fresh water. I need to make sure your cage is clean. I don't want any, infections coming to you. I don't want you getting sick." And she's like, "I do not think so. Get your hand out of my cage." She's quite bossy and all like that. She's actually tripwired her entire cage. She knows exactly where I am in her cage because she's webbed. I thought it was just like a thing. Oh no, she is webbed. Right, hard to trip me up. Oh, it's a dino! Dino! I have one of them. I have one of them. See, because mine are so big, mine can actually get into really small spaces. But, you know, my two are quite big, and because my two have a collar, you're kind of like, slightly, you know, if one of them goes behind, say, like, mine have never done it. When I take mine out in a very big area, or I take them out in the bathroom, because there is really no spaces for them to hide. They can hide behind the sink, which is a little bit worrying, but apart from hiding behind the sink, they actually can't go anywhere else unless they want to try to swim down the toilet. You know, so bathroom wise, when I close the window, I close the door, there is nowhere for them to go. They can hide right behind the wall. Yes and no. Tarantulas are slow moving, yes. Tarantulas will slowly move away, but if you spook a tarantula, it will dart. It probably would. No, actually not. Probably not as fast as the smaller one, but my two have been known to, you know, spurt quite quick. They're probably fast for somebody who's maybe not used to them. To people that have maybe kept spiders all their lives and all, to them, they're probably not as fast, if you know what I mean. For the door to open. What's going on? Well, for my two, this is what happens. If you spook one of mine, she will dart to the other side of her cage. She's like, screw you, I'm out of here. I have one who will run behind her log. But I had noticed one day I was cleaning out a dish. She came towards me, and I have a paintbrush just in case they are, you know, in a bad mood. And I just gently tapped her around the back to say, move along, you know, go around the cage a wee bit, I just want to clean out your water dish. And she turned round on me, so it's like me putting my hand, say, at the back of you, tapping you in the back, you then turning around to face my hand. The only difference is she raises her front, she lifts herself up. That's her threatening pose. It's like, you poke me again and I will take your finger. So one of my mates did it once to see what she would do. I told him not to, that if she took his finger it was on his own head bait, and he poked her again. I didn't actually see the paintbrush. He poked her again, and the next minute it was like a thump. She, you know, hit herself. Well, she didn't hit herself. She used herself, her body, and the floor of her cage to make a thumping noise, which was, that's a warning, don't do it again. So of course he went and poked her again 3 times. Only I turned around, I noticed her fangs had actually come out, and I was like, Cece, do you poke her again, I'll slap you. And he just said he just wanted to see the temperament, because he was considering one. And he says, I just want to see how far a spider will go. And he did it again, and I mean, the fangs came out. I thought their fangs were a wee bit smaller. Her fangs came out, and I mean, when she tacked, the fangs hit the toothbrush. I actually don't think the fangs went into the toothbrush. I think it's with the wooden brush. But they did look like there was venom dripping from her fangs. She was that pissed. Yes, he did get a slap from me after he did it. I hadn't realised he had pissed her off that much. She does not kick hers as a warning sign. She threatens you, and she fake attacks, and then it's like, oh hell no, you're getting a thumping, and it really is. She attacks. My other spider is a hair kicker. She will run away from you as fast as lightning. She will not stay with you. She will run to the opposite side of the cage. She's good like that. She will run. She will try to hide behind her log in her house and stuff like that. If you still follow her, she'll run out, you know, and she'll go round the back of the cage, round where the leaves are. Or she kicks hairs, which are the hairs, if they get under your skin, they're really irritating. But she's never threatened me. She has never turned on me. She's never, you know, gone, you poke me again, you're gonna get it. They do. That's one thing I always give my spiders credit for. My spiders have always warned me. My rose, Chilean rose, or Chilean red, whatever you want to call it. Chilean, no, I think it was Chilean rose hair, and it's whatever way it's pronounced. But mine's, I had the grey version, which was the normal version. And then I have a red version, which is Scarlet, the one I have now. I have Scarlet and Ruby. Scarlet is very quick to warn you. She will make damn sure you do not stick your finger at her again. Sometimes I can get in a really good mood if she's climbing her log and she's maybe misjudged and I think she's going to fall. I have been known to stick my hand in the cage to give her a leverage. You know, she's maybe just misjudged the glass door. It's not really a glass door. It's a perspex sheet. All I know, Dad got a cut for me. But he had tiny roughed it up. It's not roughed up. If you run your finger along the back of it, it's still smooth, but you can tell there's a wee tiny edge on parts of it. When I look from my side and you can't really see it, you can see it on the opposite side. That gives the spider grip, so she can actually climb her full entire cage. We thought she couldn't, and then one night I seen her going up to the top of the cage, and I was like, oh my god, she's gonna fall, and I don't know whether she just freaked out, but her paw started slipping. I was like, oh my god, my spider's gonna fall, she's gonna injure herself. Ah! So I stuck my hand, of course, in with the one that threatened you. But I think because she was I think trying to get the cricket, she misjudged, I think, her setting. She was in the mood to pounce on the cricket, but she was trying to pounce and grip on the wall at the same time, so she let one go, and unfortunately she let the gripping go, and so I quickly stuck my hand in the cage to stop her from falling, and realised what I had done, and thought, oh, she's gonna bite me. She didn't. She walked off really quickly, but it was like a walk off of thanks, and went behind her log, and it was like, oh, she must be slightly friendly. So I gently, you know, tapped her a wee bit. She turned around and says, no. It was kind of like, I didn't threaten you, I didn't bite you when you caught me, that was a thank you, now don't touch me. I was like, okay. She really is like a pet rock. The only times I see her are at night time when there's no light on. The odd time during the day, if the sun's not directly in her cage, the sun's not really in any of their cages, the sun can just bounce if it way it comes through the window. There's a corner of their cages that gets warmed up at the side to stop the entire cage from warming up, so they have their cold sides, they have their warm sides, so the temperature is always calculated. I have a gadget to keep an eye on the temperature, so when they drop below a certain degree, their cages activate and their heat comes on. Same with the fish tank. I have a heater in the fish tank, which should still be on. Oh my god, did I actually turn that? No, I think the heater's off now. Oh my god, did I turn my heater off? Oh sweet jeez. So everything's heated controlled. I can control the temperature in my spider cages. I can control the temperature in my fish tank. My geckos are the same. because my geckos don't actually live in the same cage anymore. Oh no, I do have all... Oh no, I see it now. My heater is, I think, heating up. It's like a wee bar that glows. Well, it doesn't really glow. It starts, the orange round it starts getting brighter. But when the light's off, you can't see it until the light comes on. That's the telltale sign that the cage is... It keeps its function going, that it's like, oh, it's getting near the time where the light's going to have to come on, you know, to prepare you. But yes, sorry, I'm fixing my headset, and I kind of just had to make sure that the fish did. I'm lying down in the bed at the same time too, so I kind of have to keep moving every now and again because my back is sore and my legs get sore from sitting a certain way. Because I have not moved all day, I have been sort of sitting on the bed, alright with Mum, because I'm making the most of my day off. I have actually been bit. I did get bit by one of my geckos. I know, it's just because I have had a few odd people that have maybe kind of, I wouldn't say not believed that I've had spiders, but I thought maybe people I've known had spiders, it's not actually me that owns them. So the picture was to show one of them, to say, you know, there's my head. If you actually look at it properly, the picture, I probably need a bigger picture. If you're on my Twitter page, if you look behind the picture where the spider sits, if you actually look behind, you'll see like a perspex glass, like a door sort of slightly open. That's my spider cage door. When I was taking that picture, that spider was free to walk out of her cage if she wanted to. Hold on a minute, how is this gonna work? Or I could just do it that way, apparently. What happens if they actually successfully attack someone? You mean my spiders? Or my geckos? Oh, I'm assuming you mean my spiders. Well, I'm not whole 100% sure. I know what happens if your dog attacks somebody. So I'm just gonna say this. I'm not 100% sure if this is right or not. If my spider attacks somebody, something like that, I don't think... You know, like if a dog attacks somebody, the owner of the dog can be reliable for it. You know, they can maybe be charged. I'm not 100% sure how it really works. But they sort of get the blame. With a spider, unless my spiders are out of the cage, if somebody's actually brave enough to put their hand in a cage, technically, to me, does that mean it's not their responsibility? If they're stupid enough to open a cage with that I've specifically said there is spiders in, do not open that cage, and they open it, technically to me, does that not mean that they've disobeyed my orders? I don't really know how that works, but I've always thought if they come to my house and they open my spider cage door themselves, to me that's, well, you opened the cage yourself. I did not force you to open it. My spiders cannot open the cage themselves. Well, when I bought my two, when I bought the first one, I got told it was like being stung by a bee or a wasp. So I think if you're allergic to bee or wasp stings, I think you could be in trouble. Like, you know, if you're one of those ones that needs like the epic pen or something, I would maybe say that maybe a spider's not for you. No! That's probably mine. I know for me it was definitely, he definitely said to me, it's like being stung by a bee or a wasp. Because he asked, was I allergic to anything? You know, if I was allergic to bee or wasp stings. I've never been stung by either of those two, so I don't really know. So he just says that's really all it is. If you're not allergic, then he says it's just a normal reaction. He says if somebody was allergic, I would say if you're just allergic, you just need to have, what do you call them, like an EpiPen. I would say you just need to make damn sure, or you need to let your doctor know that you're getting a tarantula, the one that, you know, would have something like that in it. That if anything like that was to happen, that they would then have what you would need.